Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the show. This show is about George Floyd. During a pandemic, Derek Chavin, a Minneapolis police officer, made a bad choice. Was it in his DNA to do this? It was a twisted paradigm of anger, or forcing his knee on George Floyd's neck. George Floyd was a man already handcuffed, and the crime was not substantial. Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd in broad daylight for the whole city and whole world to see. Yet the people who question the outrage want things to go quietly back to the way it was when it was. They wanted to go back to the way it was, or was it ever any specific way? Join Don and Pat from the NAACP. She's the co-chair and an all-star panel guest, seasoned with experience in race relations on this hot topic. We already have a guest caller, so I'm going to stop the music. First, I'm going to have Pat go. Don, her husband's on the line, and we have a caller from the 864. So I'm going to let Pat introduce the topic. The topic of the show tonight and the headliner is why police officer Derek Chauvin felt it was necessary to kill George Floyd over a $20 counterfeit bill, I might add. Good evening, Pat.
Hello.
How are you doing tonight?
Good evening, Jane. I'm doing great. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly, and I'm really happy you're on the show because I needed someone with the background to handle a topic such as this.
Okay.
We do have a guest caller, by the way, but I'm going to have you do a brief introduction, then I'm going to bring Don and the caller in.
Okay, did you want me to introduce myself as who I am and what I do? Or
sure, that would be great.
Okay, no worries. Got it.
Go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Patricia Gallimore. I am the second vice president of the Reno-Sparks NAACP, which is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I'm former president of the branch, former four-year president. Tonight's topic is very near and dear to my heart in terms of being an activist as well as a civil rights activist. These things are very discerning and chilling in today's environment. And just as Jane was speaking of earlier in terms of the reason why that police officer thought that he should take someone's life for $20 is just unbelievable. But doing the work that I do and being who and what I am, it's par for the course. It's normal. I mean, when you're talking about people that don't value other people's lives, and once again, I know my husband spoke on this show several times about slavery, so I won't take you there. But you have to go back to the history of this nation. And yes, I do know that other races were held as slaves as well. But when we're talking about the United States, it's a whole different matter. And they took it to a whole different level, to the point of where they think that, or feel that African Americans are not people. So when you see the officer, and I'll call him officer there very nicely, taking this individual's life, it's because they have no regard for African American lives, for people of color, for black people's lives. They don't care. And so that's pretty blatant, and obviously they don't even care to the point of they feel that they're so far above the law and that we're so far below being people that they can do it in front of other people and think that they can get away with it. I mean, this individual, that law enforcement officer, did this while other people were watching and saying, hey, man, he can't breathe. He can't breathe. He's telling you he can't breathe. He's incapacitated. Why are you continuing to do this? And then you had other officers stand there and allow him to do that. So this is a total blatant disregard for African American lives. And, I won't even talk about all the other stuff. We'll stay on topic here and just talk about Mr. Floyd, who is no longer with us.
Sure. And I do want to mention two things. I saw the owner of Cup, C-U-P Foods. His name's Mahmoud, and he's Middle Eastern. And he, even one of the people from his store where George Floyd presented the $20 bill, told the police officer to stop, that this was unnecessary. Please stop and don't hurt that man. And they didn't listen to him or the EMT person who was standing nearby to said take his pulse or any other bystanders. With that, I'm going to pull in the guest from the South Carolinian area, and then I'll pull in Don.
Okay.
And also I wanted to say Minneapolis is a very diverse city. We have thousands of immigrants from Ethiopia, Liberia, and a few from Nigeria. It's a very diverse community that normally gets along, but we were first put on the map a few years ago when Philando Castile was murdered by Geronimo Yanez. So who is this from South Carolina, please?
Yep. How is everybody?
Good. I didn't catch your name, sir.
My name is Johnny. Johnny.
Hi. We're happy to have you on the show, and this is a very important topic, and you have the floor right now.
Well, I think it is a very important topic. It is it is a topic that is missed in our education fields, right? Even when we're talking about how in some books of academia they were trying to remove the evidence of slavery, even after we're talking about all of the years that black folk, that Africans endured pain, suffering. No other human form has ever gone through the atrocities that African people have gone through. And that's under the hands of people like Cecil Rhodes, in the face of people like King Napoleon, Leopold, right? So we have to be honest with ourselves when we are talking about the pride that people share for having an America, right? It is just so great, right? It says that, hey, we are great. It was done so on the backs of my black African ancestors is a reality. And when we see this is like this right here, George Floyd, it's not surprising. That's showing me that America is working like the finely tuned machine it was always calibrated and orchestrated to be. You understand? This is 100%.
Right. Now, I do like the fact that you referenced those two white leaders in Africa, Cecil Rhodes, who was coined for the name Rhodesia, and King Leopold. I do think, for me, I've been in civil rights since 1981, but the fact of the matter is it was actually surprising to me because I live in Minnesota, and Minnesota is a diverse place, and this is a place I didn't think it would be that blatant, honestly. I really didn't think so.
Well, and to say, a lot of times, even though it doesn't happen where I am all the time, when that type of thing happens, it's not surprising, right? It shouldn't be surprising because in this case, this white man they're saying now no charges are being brought on this white police that killed this black man with evidence to prove it, right?
Well, actually, they fired him. They fired 4 police officers. But are you saying that the criminal charge is not existing yet?
No, that's not enough. Criminal charges have not been brought. No, they haven't.
Yeah,
and that's the same thing that we saw. That's the same thing that we saw happen in Georgia with those 2 white guys that killed that black boy that was jogging. It was the good old boy system is still working more so now than ever before. It's still in, it's still working. So that's a place where our education, we claim to have a lot of knowledge and being educated. If our education doesn't allow us to see this sticking out like a sore thumb, I have to question, who we've been taught by, or if we were actually taught with a blindfold on. You understand? Because
I do think within a week with the FBI investigation, they will be charged. I do think so.
And that would be great. But my question is, why isn't he charged right now? If that would have been me or you having done that to somebody in which they were in restraints already, there was no need for me to put my knee and kill him. There wouldn't have been no second guessing. Why would it have to be that long? That shows that something is in place that protects the crooked officer. That's 100% right now. So
well, you're right. And also,
how is it? My question is, how is it that you have all these white cops that have been killing black folks, and then that only to find out that another one is going to do the same thing as if he's not afraid of consequence, and blatantly showing that. And he's been trained.
That's true.
He's not.
Don, you're on the air.
He is supposed to be a professional. Police are supposed to be professionals. They aren't supposed to be novice or beginners before they're out there protecting or engaging with civilians. If so, something is terribly wrong with the system.
It is wrong because just a few months ago, Breonna Taylor was killed in her home in Kentucky.
Right, that's right.
She was an essential worker, and it was a case of mistaken identity. They were trying to bust up a drug deal, and it was the wrong house. And I just want to point out that Geronimo Yanez that killed Philando Castile in St. Paul 2 years ago or 3 years ago, he was not white. He was Latino. I just wanted to point that out. Don, you're on the air as well.
Hey, Jane. Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, no.
By the way, for our guest, Pat was our featured guest tonight, and this is her husband, Don. Don, you don't get to be the featured guest again.
That's all right. It's been 5+ years, so we've been keep going strong. But the guest right now, the gentleman, I didn't get his name. I'm sorry. What's your name, sir?
My name is Johnny. My name is Johnny.
Johnny. Okay. Well, Johnny, you were on point when you said that this is nothing new. Pretty much one of the first things that came out of your mouth, and that was true. This is something that this is peanuts compared to the marches and other civil disobedience acts that I was involved in back in the 60s and 70s and pretty much all my life. Again, like my wife, she was the president. I was the second vice president that passed. Secretary
of the NAACP. I don't know if he caught the whole intro.
Yeah, the NAACP. And we're also members of the Police Advisory Board, Reno State 360, and the Green River committees that work with police, and as a citizens committee. So we take the information and the news that we get in our meetings and take it back out to the community. It's not so much that we're supporting police in their actions. It's that we want to make sure that everybody knows why the police are there in particular situations so that they maybe have a heads up on how they're supposed to act. We also sponsor and are sponsored by police departments all over Washoe County for events and things that bring the community and the police together and try to make sure that we all live in peace. One of the things that I do, I've been instrumental on is community policing. My mom was a policewoman, she was the first black policewoman in the state of Wisconsin. And so her basic prototype was community policing. And that's where you go door to door and know your constituents, your community, and make sure that they know you and know that you're there to help them in times of need. There's very little adversarial work that was done. This is back in the 40s, 50s, so early 50s. That brought her home safely at night. And that's one of the things that I have been a proponent of, is community policing and the benefits of it, in that the community is more comfortable with the police and vice versa. Minneapolis is just a throwback to the times that we had back in the 60s, and I was never a member of the violent part of the activities, but I did make sure that my presence was known. So, these are little baby steps. Yeah, these
Can
are
I
little
jump
baby
in a
steps.
minute, Don? Breaking news, the protesters have broken into the Minneapolis Police Department, 3rd Precinct. The cops evaluated, and they've set fire to fire to it.
Right, no, that's been
That's too bad.
I'm not trying to laugh, but it's overwhelming. Like, they've already burned 16 buildings, including a whole condominium complex that was being built. And now the National Guard's been called in, but it's a case of too little, too late. I mean, they'll be there tomorrow, but the police have already evacuated part of the precinct's on fire.
right, and that's what you call retribution. And the only way to get rid of retribution is with some kind of peace offering. And those peace offerings in this day and time are, can we all say it together? Can we all say it at once?
Reparations.
Yay, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to say it, but it's a...
By the way, at the end of the night, I'm going to read a vigil to all the people who have died recently from black protests. I mean, from white cops.
Well, the thing is that when I make speeches, I try to go into the feelings of the black citizens, United States citizens, been here as long as anyone. And
Wade's on the line, and Johnny dropped the call.
And
who was Johnny? Was Johnny the guy?
The guy from South Carolina.
Yeah. Too bad. He was sick.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure why he dropped.
That's all right. He might call back. There are numerous reasons. But this is something that is from. It's a given hatred from the white man to blacks in this country, and black man has stood up very well to the hatred that's been perpetrated against him. And now it's coming towards a new day where people are going to have to understand that blacks have just as much to give back to America and the American citizenry as anybody else. We have more rights than anybody else. And once people get used to that understanding, then there'll be a little more peace and love. But right now, there's a culture of adversarialism that is tantamount to war. And that is what you're seeing in Minneapolis right now.
Yeah, because to me, if I can just cut in for just a second and I'll shut up again. But to me, Shane, I have to disagree with you in terms of you saying that Minneapolis has lived. You've lived as a white woman. So how can you judge and how can you know that Minneapolis, in terms of if it was a black person that was living there, it could be an entirely different living place. And it has been. Because if that's the case, if that's not the case, we got 2 killings of African Americans, 2. And to me, because I'm not from there, there's something going on there. There's definitely something going on.
You're right, Pat, and I need to clarify by saying I'm not any higher up the ranks as far as diversity than anybody else, but I did attend an all-black university in North Carolina when I was 19 because I wanted to.
Don't make you black, baby.
I know. I wanted to explore and I wanted to help eradicate race problems in America. And I was a white cracker who was idealistic.
Yes,
I always cared about race relations, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I cared. But the only thing that I'm flabbergasted that they burned the police station down. Like, I've never, not even in L.A. after the Rodney King riots did anybody go that far. So I know I sound naive, Pat, when I say that, but I do think Minneapolis, you have to understand, we're in the upper Midwest, and we have the largest concentration of Africans. Probably.
And they still live and they do, and they're still. And I'm talking about African Americans, which is different than Africans.
I'm talking about Africans too, like Liberians.
Yeah, but I'm talking, and I need you to understand that there's a difference between African Americans and Africans, and that's another thing. But here's my thing, and then I'll be quiet for a while because I do get a little bit militant, and I do get a little bit. I get very, very passionate. You have to understand my passion. What I need you to do at some point, Jane, is I need you to become a black woman. Become a black woman. Come to my world. Walk in my shoes. And this is what I get upset when Don's on these calls with you all. I need you guys to understand it, and you all, or whatever you want to call it, because I have to also be cognizant of other people's genders, okay? So you all need to understand the plight of African Americans. And the plight of that being is that, okay, if you want to see what we're dealing with, then allow us to speak, allow us to talk, and allow us to educate you. Don't shut us down, but listen. As well as not only listening, come and walk a mile in our shoes. You remember Alex Baldwin? He wrote a book called Black Like Me.
Yeah.
And you know what he did? He painted himself black. And he got himself a little curly black wig, and he went into the white community as a black person, and he actually saw the difference. And the difference
wasn't the book called Black Like Me?
Black Like Me was written by this individual. Okay. And that's what he did, and it's not a fiction novel; it's nonfiction. He actually did.
I didn't mean to say novel. I read it when I was about between 20 and 25.
Yeah, and he actually saw there is a big difference between African Americans and white people, and the only way that you're going to understand that is that you have to walk in our shoes. As I said, yes, you can go to a black university and you can fuck a black man, but that ain't going to make you be black. And I have to say that being an African-American female, it's different for me than being an African-American male. There's a difference between me and my husband. And there's a difference between the way folks look at us. And then we have to also take it all the way back to slavery. And I know that Don does this all the time. Every time that I go out, and I do go out in public speak, the first thing I do is I have to educate people. 1964, 1965. Okay, we did not get civil rights nor the right to vote until those years. That's in my lifetime. But people don't understand that. They don't know the education, why history is not in history books. And that's what the other gentleman, before he left the line, he tried to say that as well, is that history is not being correctly reported and recorded and given out to other people. Yes, you can go. It's very ignorant to say that, I attended a black university. Let me tell you something. If you did that in a room full of people from the NAACP, they would tear your ass to smithereens. The reason being such is that's very demeaning to us as being African Americans. Is to hear a white person say, I went to a black university so I could see.
Well, that's the reason I said that is because you when you framed a certain sentence, you acted like I wasn't empathetic.
No, I didn't know. I was not saying that you're not empathetic. I'm not accusing you of being such.
I was trying to say that. From where Minneapolis was 40 years ago, where it was 96% white, to now it's like 70% white, there's been a lot of changes, and we welcomed Ethiopian and Liberian refugees from war.
And I would take you back. You're not hearing what I said. Ethiopians and Nigerians are not African Americans. There is a big difference between the two.
I know that.
That's three. Okay? So once again, you guys might welcome those individuals, but are you welcoming the individuals that were brought over from slavery? And I'm not saying you. I'm saying your community of people. And we know that it's not true. If it was true, then we wouldn't see all of this racism, not just where you live, but throughout the entire country of the United States. And it does have to. We do have to break it down, and that's the reason why I hate. I dislike the term people of color, because it puts us all in one thing. But I will tell you, African Americans are totally different than the Ethiopians, the other group that you were speaking of as well, because we deal with a lot of African Americans that are from Africa, because we're descendants of Africa, but we're not from Africa per se. And you have to understand that there is a totally different way that those individuals see us, and a totally different way that the United States of America or white people view Africans as opposed to African Americans.
I understand, and I was only really trying to comment on growing up and living in Minnesota. I thought not to say that any Minnesotan is above racism, but one question that Wade is on the line too, and I wanted to direct this question to you and Don and Wade. Do you think this one cop, who happens to be named Derek Chauvin, which is kind of funny because I could call him chauvinistic, but do you think this one cop who did this cockeyed in public and killed this man, do you think it's the exception or part of the systemic racism that Johnny from South Carolina was talking about? Can someone take that question?
Well,
Wade, you can
speak up. Somebody go ahead. Somebody else speak up. I've talked enough.
Well, Wade, first of all, are you familiar with this murder that's caused riots?
Yeah, I mean, I've pulled up statistics on race and murder, and the main problem is we're having a lot of trouble with authoritarianism in this country right now.
You mean like the cops being too authoritarian?
Well, and the politicians and the leaders, and unfortunately, we need people getting into politics to control the politicians is a problem. Now, the statistics I've looked at has shown, well, of course, yeah, I guess this year is just beginning, actually has shown some of the deaths dropping a little bit. But pretty much every race is getting, there's plenty of cases of death from cops from all the different races. I don't believe, like Don's saying, I've grown up as a white person. I've been around white people. No, white people in general do not have it in for the black community. We're not all spending our time, we don't no, that's not true. Are there racist white people? Absolutely. But that is not part of our identity and culture to dislike black people.
And you grew up in San Diego, and that's an area where it's not
in San Diego.
Racism
and most of the worst
that type of...
are in the liberal cities.
Which one?
Yeah,
Los Angeles?
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Wade. What's up? That's what I was, a liberal hippie. But, well,
Pat doesn't know Wade, but by the way, Pat, Wade is an airline attendant, but he has a bachelor's in theater from USC, and he taught in Korea for 9 years.
Okay.
He's my former roommate, and we know each other from Hollywood Presbyterian. But Wade, what do you think specifically about? Minneapolis is a Midwestern city.
We're scheduling part 2 in the next few minutes. I hope you enjoyed the show. And the perspective of an NAACP leader, a white conservative, and I'm the white liberal. Thank you.